Hello everyone, Professor Savita Bodke over here, and in the today's session we are going to discuss the MCQs of the business economics, which is the subject of TYBCom semester 6 for the University of Mumbai. So over here in this PDF you are able to see the correct answers also. If you are not having any resources for the studies and if you want this PDF at free of cost, you ping me on the WhatsApp. I'll forward you this entire PDF to all of you at free of cost for your studies. All the best for your upcoming examination. So let's start. We are having the question number 1, that is trade between two countries is called option number 1, that is internal trade. Option number 2 is intra-country trade. Option number 3 is intrastate trade. And option number 4 is international trade. Now please remember that whenever that is the trade between the two or more countries, that is always called as the international trade. So the correct answer over here is international trade. Now the next one, that is question number 2. According to the classic economist, dash is the reason for the country to specialize in the production of a commodity. Now the option number 1 is internalization. Option number 2, that is cost differences. Option number 3, that is international division of the labor. And option number 4 is special commodities. Now please remember that if any country wants to be the specialized in the production of the particular commodities as per the classic economics, the main reason is international division of labor. So the correct answer for your question number 2 is option number 3. Now the next one is MCQ number 3. International trade is the result of an advantage country possess in producing a particular commodity at, and the option number 1 is lower cost, option number 2 is the equal cost, option number 3 is the higher cost, and option number 4, that is constant cost. Now please remember that in case of the international trade, if any country is having an advantage, that is just because of the lower cost. So the correct answer is option number 1. Now the next one is absolute difference in a cost is explained by, and they have given you the name of 4 economists over here: David Ricardo, Adam Smith, J.S. Mill, and Alfred Marshall. Now absolute difference in the cost is explained by the Adam Smith. So the correct answer is option number 2. Now the next one is, according to the Adam Smith, the international trade is advantageous for all participating countries only if they enjoy dash difference in cost of production. And the option number 1 is comparative, option number 2 is equal, option number 3 is absolute, and option number 4 is unequal. Now please remember that the correct answer is absolute. So according to the Adam Smith, the international trade is advantageous for all the participating countries only if they enjoy the absolute difference in the cost of production. Now the next one is, who said the following? The essence of international trade is not the absolute difference in the cost, but a comparative difference in a cost. Again, they have given you the name of economists: Adam Smith, David Ricardo, J.S. Mill, Alfred Marshall. Now please remember that David Ricardo has said that the essence of the international trade is not the absolute difference in the cost, but a comparative difference in a cost. Now we will move on to the next MCQ. The Ricardian theory has dash countries and dash commodities. Now we have to specify that how many countries are there and how many commodities are there. Option number 1, they have given you 3 and 2. Option number 2 is 2 and 3. Option number 3 is 2 and 4. And option number 4 is 2 and 2. Now please remember that David Ricardo is having the 2 countries and 2 commodities. So you have to remember the certain things over here. Now the next one is MCQ number 8. Which of the following is not assumption of the comparative cost advantage theory? We have already studied regarding the comparative cost advantage theory, and we are always having the assumptions in that theory. So we have to find out that which is not the assumption of your comparative cost theory. Perfect competition. Now this is the assumption of your comparative cost advantage theory. So this is not the correct answer. Now the next one is increasing return to scale. This is not the assumption of your comparative cost advantage theory. So the correct answer for this question is option number 2. Even we will read the third and fourth option also. The perfect mobility of the labor within the countries. Yes, this is the assumption of the comparative cost advantage theory. Even the homogeneous labor is also the assumption of comparative cost advantage theory. Now the next one is comparative advantage is expressed in, and we are having the four options as absolute cost, variable cost, cost ratios, marginal cost. Now always remember that comparative advantage is expressed in cost ratios. So the correct answer is option number 3. Now the next one, they have given you MCQ number 10. England 1 unit wine is equal to the half unit cloth. Then they have given you the another country, that is Portugal. 1 unit wine is equal to the 1 unit cloth. This is the example of, and they have given you the option number 1, that is comparative cost. Second one is the absolute cost. Third one is the relative cost. And fourth one is the unequal cost. Now please remember that we are comparing over here, and this is the perfect example of your comparative cost. Now the next one is comparative advantage theory is based on dash value. The option number 1 is cost theory. Option number 2 is productivity theory. Option number 3 is quality theory. And option number 4 is a labor theory. Now please remember that comparative advantage theory is based on labor theory. So the option number 4 is the correct answer. Now the next MCQ. No change in a technology, no transport cost, constant return to the scale. Thus assumptions make the comparative cost advantage theory dash dynamic, redundant, static, unacceptable. Now the correct answer is static because all these assumptions make the comparative cost advantage theory static. Now the next one is, if a company enjoys an absolute advantage in the production of all the commodities, then also the trade is possible. Who said this? Again, we are having the four options of the economist: Adam Smith, David Ricardo, J.S. Mill, Alfred Marshall. Now, David Ricardo has said that if the country enjoys an absolute advantage in the production of all the commodities, then also the trade is possible. So, the option number 2, David Ricardo, is the correct answer. Now, the next one is, according to the HO theory, the international trade is but a partial case of dash trade. The option number 1 is interstate. Option number 2 is intrastate. Option number 3 is intra-country. Option number 4 is inter-religion. Now please remember that the answer is inter-religion. Now the next one is MCQ number 15. HO theory is based on dash value theory. The option number 1 is a partial. Second option is a semi-partial. Third option is a general. And fourth option is semi-general. Now, HO theory is based on the general value theory. Next one is HO theory is dash model. 1 into 1 into 1. Second option is 2 into 2 into 2. Third option is 3 into 3 into 3. Fourth option is 4 into 4 into 4. Now, HO theory is the model of 2 into 2 into 2. So, this is correct answer. Now, the next one is MCQ number 17. Commodity Y is a capital incentive if, and they have given you over here the situation, KY divided by LY is equal to the KX divided by LX. This is the option number 1. Option number 2 is KY divided by LY is lower than KX divided by LX. Now the third option is KY divided by LY is greater as compared to Kx divided by Lx. So the correct answer is the option number 3. And the fourth option, I'll just read it, though we are having the answer over here. That is ky is greater than kx. Now the MCQ number 18. If England one wine is equal to the half cloth, and if Portugal one wine is equal to the one cloth, this is the example of comparative advantage, and this is the repetition once again in this PDF. We have already studied this question earlier. Now the next one is, if the commodity Y requires the 2 units of the capital and 2 units of the labor, and the commodity X requires the 1 unit of the capital and 4 units of the labor, then Y is, option number 1 is labor incentive, second is labor specific, third one is a capital incentive and capital intensive, and the fourth option is capital specific. So the correct answer is capital intensive. Okay. Now the next one is, factor intensity is measured in dash terms. Option number 1 is absolute cost. Second option is factor ratios. Third option is relative cost. Fourth option is frequency of capital labor. So the factor intensity is always measured in terms of the factor ratios. So that is appropriate answer. Now the next one is, total amount of labor in nation 1 is greater than the labor in the nation 2 if, and they have given you the 4 situations in front of you. TK1 divided by TL1 is greater than TK2 divided by TL2. Now the second option is TK1 divided by TL1 is less than TK2 divided by TL2. Now the third option is TK1 divided by TL1 is equal to the TK2 divided by TL2. Now the fourth option is TL1 is greater than TL2. Now here the correct answer is option number 1, that is TK1 divided by TL1 is greater as compared to the TK2 divided by TL2. Now the next one is MCQ number 22. The factor abundance can be explained using, option number 1 is the demand curve, option number 2 is the supply curve. Now the option number 3 is a tangent, and option number 3 is PPC. So the correct answer is PPC. Now the next MCQ is, a nation is a capital abundant if, and they have again given you the 4 equations over here when we can say that a nation is a capital abundant. So the option number 1 is PK1 divided by PL1 is lower as compared to the PK2 divided by PL2. Now the second option is PK1 divided by PL1 is greater as compared to the PK2 divided by PL2. Now the third option is PK1 divided by PL1 is equal to the PK2 divided by PL2. And the last option is PK1 is lower as compared to the PK2. So nation is a capital abundant only in the second situation, that is PK1 divided by PL1 is greater as compared to the PK2 divided by PL2. Now the next one is abundance of the factor makes it, and we are having the 4 options. The first option is easy, second option is more, third option is expensive, and the fourth option is a cheap. The abundance of the factor makes it cheap because you are having that factor available in an excess. So that's why it is always a cheap. Now the next one, that is MCQ number 25, and this is the last MCQ which I am going to cover in this session. In the next session I'll upload MCQs from the 26 to the 50, and we are going to cover the maximum MCQs in this economics series over here. Now the next one is R1 divided by W1 is lower as compared to the R2 divided by W2 means. Now we have to give the interpretation of this equation over here. Nation 1 is having the capital abundant. Second option is nation 1 is a labor abundant. Third option is nation 2 is a capital abundant. And the last option, that is the fourth option, is nation 2 has the high wages. Now please remember that whenever you are having the equation like this, that is R1 divided by W1 is lower as compared to the R2 divided by W2, it means that the nation 1 is having abundant capital. So that's why the option number 1, that is nation 1 is a capital abundant, is the appropriate answer. So I hope that these MCQs are useful for your studies. Do the maximum practice of MCQs and score the maximum marks in upcoming October examination. Thank you so much.